Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you, so let's begin. I never thought I'd be telling this story. 5 years of marriage, believing that no matter what, we could work things out, only to realize that I was the only one who actually cared. I ignored the signs, made excuses, and tried to be the bigger person. But in the end, I learned the hard way that some things are beyond fixing. Betrayal doesn't just happen overnight. It starts small, like a crack in the foundation, and before you know it, the entire house is collapsing. My name is Ryan, and for 5 years, I was married to a woman I thought I knew. Jessica and I weren't perfect, but what marriage is. We had our ups and downs, but I always believed that, no matter what, we would figure things out. That's what marriage is, right? Sticking together through thick and thin? That's what I told myself, anyway. The truth is, stability is an illusion when you're the only one holding things together. And in my case, I was holding on to something that was already slipping through my fingers. At first, it was small things. Jessica started staying late at work more often. She became glued to her phone, smiling at messages. And when I asked questions, even casual ones, she got defensive, like I had no right to be curious about my own wife's life. I didn't jump to conclusions. Instead, I tried to fix things. I asked her directly, "What would you want me to do more that you like?" I thought maybe I was missing something, that there was something I could change to make things better. But her answer? Always the same dismissive, "I'm fine with you." Yet, nothing changed. If anything, she pulled away even more. That's when I suggested therapy. I thought we just needed an outside perspective, someone to help us communicate better. But the moment I brought it up, she got defensive, almost offended, like I had accused her of something. "Why would we need therapy? There's nothing wrong," she snapped. That's when I knew, not just that something was wrong, but that she had no interest in fixing it. From that moment on, I could feel it in my gut. This wasn't going to end well. I started to feel like I was just waiting for the inevitable, like my marriage was a ticking time bomb. I knew that one day, Jessica was either going to confess or blindside me with divorce. I had read enough horror stories about men getting completely wiped out in divorces, losing their homes, their savings, even paying alimony to a woman who had disrespected them. I refused to be one of those men. If this marriage was going to end, I wasn't going to leave empty-handed. The system wasn't designed to favor me, so I had to take matters into my own hands. Confronting Jessica was useless. I had already learned that she would just get defensive, twist the narrative, and make me the bad guy. So, I played it smart in silence. The first thing I did was move my money, carefully, over time, so Jessica wouldn't notice. We had a joint account, and I knew that if things went south, she could drain it in an instant. So, I started transferring small amounts out, nothing too obvious. Instead of moving it into another bank account where it could be tracked or contested, I bought physical gold. Why gold? Because unlike digital assets or savings accounts, it couldn't be frozen, seized, or split in a divorce. It was untraceable. Once I had it in my possession, it was mine and mine alone. No lawyer, no judge, not even Jessica herself could take it from me. I stored the gold bars in a safe, hidden away, where no one but me knew they existed. Every time I placed another bar inside, it felt like I was reclaiming control, piece by piece. But money wasn't the only thing I secured. I started mentally preparing for my exit. I had to think beyond just finances. Where would I go? The goal was simple. When the time came, I wouldn't be scrambling. I wouldn't be caught off guard. And through it all, I remained silent. Jessica had no idea what I was doing. One evening, Jessica was supposed to be home soon. I had started making dinner, a habit I had picked up since she always claimed she was too tired to cook. But then, my phone rang and it was her. I picked up and she said, "I'll be staying at my boss's place overnight. He wants us to work on some tasks." My grip on the phone tightened, but I stayed calm. "How many of you will be working there?" I asked it as if I didn't already know the answer. Her response was immediate, sharp, irritated, dripping with contempt. "What kind of question is that? Are you auditing me? Do I need your permission now?" Then, click. She hung up. I stood there, staring at the phone screen. I already knew she was cheating. The late nights, the secrecy, the growing resentment in her voice. But this wasn't just cheating. This was open, blatant disrespect. She wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. She had reached the point where she believed she could do whatever she wanted, and I would just sit there and take it. She thought wrong. But before I made my final decision, I wanted to hear from someone else. So I called the one person who should have some influence over Jessica, her mother. I laid it all out. I told her how Jessica had been acting, how distant she had become, how she had just called me to say she was spending the night at another man's house. And do you know what her mother, my mother-in-law, said to me? "What exactly do you want my daughter to come home and do for you?" No concern, no hesitation, no that doesn't sound right, or let me talk to her. Nothing. Just instant dismissal, as if I was the problem. I felt something inside me snap. In that moment, it all became so clear. This marriage was over. It had been over for a long time. I had just been too stubborn to admit it. But now I was ready. I wasn't going to be a fool any longer. If Jessica wanted to act like she was single, I was going to give her exactly that. I sat down at my desk, opened my laptop, and logged into our joint bank account. With every last dollar, I used it to buy more physical gold. The purchase went through instantly. Just like that, our joint account was empty. Then I moved quickly. I grabbed my important documents, passport, birth certificate, financial records. The things that mattered. Clothes? I packed just enough to last me until I could buy more. I wasn't planning on dragging my old life with me, just the essentials. I took one last walk through the house, looking at everything I was leaving behind. But I did leave something behind. I took off my wedding ring, placed it on the kitchen counter, and next to it, I left a short note. "I was never your husband, just your safety net. Good luck." I didn't write more because nothing else needed to be said. She had made her choice. Now I was making mine. By the time the sun rose, I was gone. I had slipped out quietly, not even bothering to look back. The streets were empty, just like my attachment to that house. The first stop was the car dealership. My car wasn't some luxury ride, but it was worth enough to give me a solid cash boost for what came next. I took the offer, signed the papers, and walked away with the cash in my pocket. Then it was time for the final step, leaving the country. Mexico had always been my dream, a place where I could live cheaply and start fresh. Jessica had always shut the idea down, saying it was impractical, and that we needed to stay put and build a life here. But we didn't exist anymore. Now I was free. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was finally deciding for myself. I never spoke to Jessica again. There was no need. Some people think closure comes from a final conversation. Some grand confrontations where both parties lay everything on the table. But I knew better. Closure doesn't come from words. It comes from action. And I had already made my decision. I didn't explain myself. I owed her nothing. She knew what she had done. She knew the life she had thrown away. And now, she would have to live with it. By the time she realized I was gone, she probably checked our joint account and saw it was empty. I can only imagine the panic that must have set in. She must have called me immediately, her fingers trembling over the screen, her mind racing for an explanation that wouldn't come. I never answered her calls. My phone buzzed relentlessly in the following days, her name flashing on the screen, sometimes in calls, sometimes in messages. I could have picked up. But why? She wasn't calling because she missed me. She was calling because she realized the safety net was gone. I never replied to her texts. I saw them. Long paragraphs at first, filled with questions, then accusations, then apologies. Then, when I gave her nothing, the messages grew shorter, desperate, empty. Eventually, they stopped. She had no choice but to accept the truth. I was gone, and I wasn't coming back. A week later, while I was settling into my new life in Mexico, Jessica received the divorce papers from my lawyer. Before I even left, my lawyer had started the process, ensuring that the moment I was safely out of the country, the paperwork would be served. Now, she was on her own. The house, the bills, and the mortgage were now entirely her responsibility. At first, she was furious after I was told she got the papers. The texts started rolling in, one after another, because she knew I won't pick her calls. You're pathetic. Running away like a coward. So that's it? You just disappear like some deadbeat. I didn't respond. There was no need. Every angry message she sent only proved that she wasn't remorseful, just mad that she no longer had control. When the insults didn't get the reaction she wanted, she changed tactics. Next came the guilt tripping. You're really divorcing me over nothing? We had problems, sure, but every couple does. We could have worked this out. I was stressed from work, okay? That's why I acted that way. I needed space, but that didn't mean I didn't love you. Again, silence. Letting her talk to herself was more satisfying than anything I could say. She wasn't apologizing, just trying to manipulate me into coming back. And when she realized guilt wouldn't work either, she finally broke down and started begging. Please. I made a mistake. I miss you. Let's talk. Can't we just meet? Just once? Please, Ryan. But I had already given her all the chances she deserved. I had spent months trying to fix things, trying to communicate, trying to be the husband she clearly didn't care about. That part of my life was over. I didn't reply, not once. Meanwhile, I had already moved on. Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, and financially. The gold bars I had secured? Untouchable. They were mine, completely outside of any divorce proceedings. She could try to fight me in court all she wanted. It wouldn't change a thing. In the end, I didn't need to scream at her, beg her to change, or waste years in a bitter divorce battle. I lost a wife who never respected me. But in return, I gained the one thing that mattered most, my freedom. If there's one thing I've learned through all of this, it's that disrespect is never a mistake, it's a choice. A woman who disrespects you once will do it again. It's not about one bad decision or one weak moment. It's about the mindset behind it. When Jessica decided she could lie to me, cheat on me, and then act like I had no right to question her, she wasn't just having an affair. She was making it clear that she didn't value me as a husband or even as a person. And that was the moment I stopped valuing her, too. A woman who already sees you as disposable isn't going to suddenly respect you because you demand it. You can't force someone to see your worth. They either do or they don't. And once you realize they don't, the only power you have left is to walk away. That's exactly what I did. I left without a fight, without drama. And trust me, that's the best revenge there is. Nothing destroys a person who thrives on control more than realizing they have no power over you. Jessica thought I would sit there, waiting for her to decide when she was done playing around. Instead, I flipped the script. I took everything that mattered to me, and I left her to deal with the mess she created. Some people will say I was too cold, too calculated. But tell me this, why should I have stayed and let someone who disrespected me continue to benefit from my presence? Why should I have given her the chance to take even more from me? If you're in a situation like mine, don't waste time arguing. Don't waste time begging. Just take your power and walk away. What would you have done in my place? Drop a comment below. Let's talk.